Hello students, today we are going to look into the Constitution of India. It's a very well often heard word, Constitution, the preamble, the Constitution. You are very familiar with that, right? So, the word Constitution means what? Constitute, Constitution, that means a set of rules. Now, every school or every educational institution has a set of framed rules according to which it has to function. So, a huge country like our country, a democratic country, should have a set of rules according to which the government should govern the country. So, that is called constitution. The constitution only keeps people the right to pursue happiness. You have to catch yourself. Constitutional rights, the fundamental rights, right to practice religion, right to freedom of speech. There are many, you might have learned in lower classes. So, what I want you to do is to understand what it means by the constitution. So, again, it's a set of rules. So, in this lesson, we will see what is a constitution, what is a constituent assembly, and the nature of state and the objectives. So, we begin. India attained independence, all of us know, on 15th August 1947, after a long struggle of almost 200 years. This much all of you know, right? Okay. The day brought about a new opportunity for the people of India to uplift their stature. Stature means from where they stay, from where they are, their level. From being mere subjects of a colonial power to citizens of a democracy. So, what did we gain by the freedom or independence? Was that than being under someone, we got the freedom as citizens, not as slaves. However, at that time there was a state of anarchy in the country. Anarchy means disorder. Okay, like suddenly after 200 years of the British ruling us, everybody has forgotten what are the rules and regulations. So there was a lot of confusion. Thus, in order to deal with this period of turmoil, means again tension, the leaders of that time collaborated, consciously weave the political, economic and social fabric of independent India. So what happened? The leaders of that time, they worked together and said, we need to put down certain rules and regulations so that our country can work properly. Like when you start your class on the first day, your class teacher might have been put down some rules and regulations, or the principal might have given you certain rules and regulations so that we can function smoothly for the benefit of everyone. So the same way, after the independence, the leaders sat together and they said we need to have right rules so that we can function well. So then comes the constitution. A constitution refers to a certain fundamental or basic laws of a country. So if you get a question, what is a constitution? It is a set of law, fundamental or basic set of law. It defines the rights, duties and limitations of the people. When you have a right, you have a duty. So what it says, it defines rights, duties and limitations of the people. It lays down the structure as well as provides the scope of power of the government. Now, there is a structure, and what is the scope? How can the government function? All that it lays down. Hence, it provides the basic guidelines according to which a country is governed. There should be some guidelines, some basics according to which a country should be governed. So the constitution provides this. In the post-independence period, means after the independence, there was a dire need, means there was an urgent need to bring order and make people cooperate with each other in our country. We saw in the previous paragraph that there was a lot of tension and turmoil. So soon after the independence, people had to be cooperated. Thus, a body of representatives was set up to frame a set of basic laws for the country, just like you have your class monitors, no? Or the school leaders or school council. There also a body of representatives, people from different section, they got together to form a basic law. This body came to be known as the Constituent Assembly, Constitution and Constituent Assembly, and the framed set of laws is known as the Constitution of India. So it's simple as that, very easy. So we need to remember, soon after the independence, there was lot of confusion, there was no law, no regulation, and now if India had to be taken ahead with the rules and regulation, they felt that there should be written rules and regulations. So a group of people, the leaders and the representatives from different parts were appointed to sit together and work out the rights, the duties, the limitations, everything. And this group is called the Constituent Assembly. And the framed set of laws and rules are called the Constitution of India. The Constituent Assembly. Now we are going to learn a little more about the Constituent Assembly. So under the provision of the Cabinet Mission Plan, the Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946. When did we get the freedom? 1947. So under a cabinet, a group, the Constituent Assembly was formed in 1946. It had 389 members. Following the partition of the country, the Constituent Assembly was bifurcated, means divided, thereby setting up separate constituent assemblies for India and Pakistan. One thing we should understand, Pakistan was part of the Greater India before independence. Then they separated. And before the independence, the Constituent Assembly was formed. But after independence only, we got the Constitution. So what happened? India had separate and Pakistan had separate constitutions. As a result, the membership of the Indian Constituent Assembly was reduced to 299, out of which 229 represented the British India provinces and 70 represented the Indian princely states. Now children, there were 299 people, and in that 229 represented the British India provinces where British India was still ruling. We should remember the assembly was formed when? In 1946, still when we were under the rule of Britain. So 229 people came from the British India provinces and 70 were from the Indian princely states. Some of the Indian states were ruled by the princes, the kings. So 70 people were from there. So many great personalities such as Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Maulana Azad, Sardar Hukam Singh, Sardar Baldev Singh, B.N. Rao, Frank Anthony and S.H. Prater, Anglo-Indians, among many others, were the members of the Constituent Assembly. So these are the prominent, the important figures of the Constituent Assembly. Please remember. Now, role and working of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on 9th December 1946. Initially, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was elected as the interim president of the assembly. He was an appointed president. Later on, he was replaced by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was elected the president of the Constituent Assembly on 11th December 1946. It is very clear. It was not easy to frame laws which could cater means take care, to the needs and aspirations of every citizen of our country. See, our India is very vast and wide with a lot of diversity of culture. So, it was not easy to frame a set of law for a whole country. Thus, the Constituent Assembly set up a drafting committee on 29th August 1947 to formulate a draft of the Constitution of India. Then on 29th August, soon after the independence, they said there should be a drafting committee to draft. First, it has to be drafted. After that, finalize. Under the brilliant chairmanship and guidance of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the drafting committee drafted countless provisions. So they just put down so many provisions. Thereafter, the assembly deliberated, accepted and disposed the provisions tabled by the drafting committee in order to give shape to the Constitution of India. So, after drafting it, after a lot of meeting and discussions, everything it was given to the public to look into. After 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, the Constituent Assembly completed its work and adopted the Constitution of India on 26 November 1949. Very, very important date. Then on 26 January 1950, the Constitution of India came into effect, thus making India a republic. So the journey to the Constitution of India drafting is very important because it's that day we got our rights. So it took almost 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. See how precisely it is mentioned, because our Constitution of India is very, very important, and then they wanted to publish it. So on 26th January 1950 it was published. That is what called Republic. So in the Lahore session of the Indian National Congress, it was decided to adopt the resolution of Purna Swaraj and celebrate 26th January 1930 as the first Independence Day. Till 1947, this day was celebrated as an Independence Day. So, it was on 26th January 1930 till 1947, it was celebrated as an Independence Day. Then in 1947, when India achieved independence, 15th August began to be celebrated as an Independence Day. In view of the historical importance of 26th January, it was decided to celebrate it as our Republic Day. Okay. Now, the nature of the state. The nature of the state in India is clearly defined by the preamble to the Constitution of India. Preamble means, that is the introduction. It is very beautifully given in your textbook. That is, we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt enact and give to ourselves this constitution. See what a solemn resolution and how beautiful it is. Now let's learn these terms in details. So the nature of the state in India is clearly defined by the preamble of the constitution. In the preamble itself is shown what India should be. Initially, it describes the nature of India as sovereign and democratic republic. Then later, the 42nd constitutional amendment. Amendment means each time it is changed or remodeled, added the words socialist and secular also. So first there was only sovereign, democratic and republic, and then socialist and secular were added later, that is in 1976. Thus the preamble states Indian state a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. Let's study these terms in detail. So what is sovereign? The sovereignty of India means it is free from any type of internal or external control. That means we are free. Nobody can rule over us. Secondly, it is free to form and implement its own policies. Means when we make our policy, the neighboring country or British cannot say that you cannot make this policy because we are free to make this policy. So that is the meaning of sovereignty. So the two meanings are it is free from any type of internal, means from within or from outside control. We are not under anybody's control. Second one is to free to form and implement its own policies. So that is sovereign, means all the power, the authority. Okay. Socialist. Being a socialist state, India aims to establish a social and economic system that is free from any type of exploitation. Exploitation means manipulate, misuse. So socialist state, it can establish a social economic system. It is a correction free. Then ensure fair distribution of wealth. Not one person alone can capture all the wealth. It has to be fairly distributed. Provide equal opportunities of development to all its citizens. Every citizen should get equal opportunity. Provide security to the aged, children, weaker sections and the unemployed. So the aged, the senior citizens, children, weaker sections and the unemployed, everybody should be provided security. If you really think, children, are we practicing this word socialist? No. We see a lot of injustice done. Like there is some like Ambani, they are accumulating wealth and equal opportunities not given to all the citizens. Only those who have money can buy the things. Again, the aged people are thrown out. Children are exploited, misused, abused. Many have no employment. See, that means socialism is not lived. Anyway, this is the understanding by socialism. Now, what do you understand by secular? The preamble declares that India is a secular country, which means there is no state religion. Every citizen in India should be a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian. It is not like that. Each one is free to practice their religion. Everyone is free to profess, practice and propagate any religion of their choice. Profess means I can proclaim that this is my religion. I can practice my religion and I can propagate my religion, means I can publicly speak about it. I can call others to join my religion. See, that is the meaning of secular. No one can be discriminated on the ground of religion. No killing of somebody if he or she is a Muslim or a Christian or Hindu. You cannot hate anybody. It's against the Constitution of India. All religious communities are free to manage their affairs You cannot break a mosque and build a temple, and you cannot break a church and build a mosque. This is against the Indian Constitution. See children, what is really happening now in India? The secularism of India is being killed. Why? Because people are killed in the name of religion. People are not free to eat what they want. People are not free to practice their religion. There is a lot of atrocities going on in our country. The moment you utter the name of your God, you are killed. See, this is against the constitution. But the secularism in our constitution says that every citizen has all the rights to practice their religion and profess their religion and to propagate their religion. So now you understand what is sovereign, socialist and secular? Okay. Now democratic. The preamble states that India is a democratic country. It means that the people elect their own representatives and run the government. Voting, ballot vote. Now what happened? The EVM machine has come and then there is a lot of manipulation in the voting. That is also again against the democracy. The representatives are elected through free and fair elections by the system of universal adult franchise. That means when you are 18-year-old, you are free to vote. So through voting, they are elected and that is fair. Is our voting system fair? We don't know. People-friendly governments are established at all levels. Central, state and local. Are the government people friendly? Or are they imposing rules? Like now, so many thousands of farmers were struggling there. Lot of people are facing. Is it people friendly government? It's again against the constitution. So now what is the meaning of republic? India is a republic. That means the head of the state is elected directly or indirectly by the people for a fixed tenure of 5 years. Once you are elected, lifelong you cannot continue. You are elected for 5 years only. The system of hereditary rule is not valid in our country. My father was a minister, I will be a minister, my child will be a minister. That cannot be. It is only through election. That is the meaning of republic. So sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. These are very, very important. Sad to say that in the present system, in the present scenario, none of this is being practiced. The government, the people, the authorities, all are working against the preamble of our constitution, the very life of our constitution. Now, what are the objectives of the constitution? The preamble to the Constitution of India declares the principles and objectives of the constitution. Apart from making India a sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic, the Constitution of India aims at securing the following objectives to the citizens of India. Those 4 objectives are justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. Justice. Owing to the experience of colonial rule, the Constitution of India aims at providing social, economic and political justice to all its citizens. That means now under the British we were like slaves. So those who made the constitution, they said let's free our people in economically, socially and politically. So they said no citizen can be discriminated on the grounds of religion, caste or gender. There should be no discrimination at all. The government must ensure fair economic system. Not only Ambani and Adani, but all should have economy, not selling the country to the corporate. That is what happening now. That is not the way. The money should be distributed to all the people. Every citizen above 18 years of age has the right to vote and even contest election as per the criteria laid down by the Constitution. So after 18 years of age, anybody can stand for election and anybody can vote. Now, that is justice. Now, what is liberty? The citizens of India have been guaranteed a number of liberties by the Constitution. This means citizens are free to think, express their views, and follow the faith and religion of their choice. See, we have the freedom of thinking, we have the freedom of expression and religion. But what is happening now? If anybody speaks about the ruling government, they are called anti-national. Is it liberty? Equality. By the objective of equality, the Constitution of India aims at ensuring the equality of status and opportunity among its citizens. So everybody will have equal status and opportunity. Do you think that is practiced now? Fraternity. India has always taken pride in its unity. Thus, even the Constitution of India aims at promoting fellow feeling among the people of India, putting an end to the separatist tendencies. A separatist means you are one group, I am another group, you belong to that caste, you belong to this culture, that religion. What's happening now? Is there fraternity in our country? It's a question to ask. You cannot say, I hate that religion, I hate this religion. If married from that caste, we will kill that one. No. All these are happening in a country now. All these are against the Indian Constitution.